Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing my SSC Tuatara in multiplayer in Asphalt 9 in the Ghost Slipstream season that happened a little while back. And the reason why I wanted to test this car in that season in particular was because it seems perfectly suited for it. But before we get too much into the video, I'd just like to say I'll be streaming this Saturday at 4:30 p.m. GMT. That's 11:30 a.m. Central Time, so I hope to see you guys there. You may remember a while back I made a video about this card when I had it at only 2 stars, and that was in one of the more normal multiplayer seasons, you might say. But this one is Ghost and Slipstream, and both of those are very good for this car, and there are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, with being Slipstream, well, Slipstream is going to be really good with any car that has a very high top speed, because the thing is, with most of these high top speed cars, oftentimes they don't have the best nitro efficiency, and even in the case of the Tuatara, where it is better than that of the Yescos, the nitro efficiency is, it's still not amazing. And so I found that Slipstream in this car tremendously helps it in actually allowing it to get to and maintain its high top speed for longer time, and just earlier on in the race, because that leads us to our second thing about the ghosting. You see, in a normal season, even if it was Slipstream but not ghosting, you'd be able to get full nitro for a shockwave, then do your shockwave, and then just run into a bunch of DSE tenses going 175. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but you see where I'm going with this. With Ghost Season, it becomes much easier to pass people, so what I found was in this season with this car, what I would do was get a little bit behind at the beginning, get enough for a shockwave, and then just blast right through people and then not have to worry about them again, unless of course they were in other high top speed cars like the Bugatti Chiron, which I did see quite a bit throughout this video, and some other Tuataras as well. Most of the cars that you will see in this video that I raced against were some of the more high top speed cars, because in Ghost Slipstream season, that is what people are going to gravitate towards, since they really are the ones that do best in this season. If you haven't checked out my video about this car at 2 stars, I would definitely recommend doing that, because it does show what this car is able to do in a non-Slipstream, non-Ghost season, where you will see that it still is powerful, but not as overpowered as it is in a season like this one. Also in that video, I showed how I won this car through those packs, and here we have another very close finish against this Bugatti Chiron, I believe it was, and another Legions United member in his Zenvo. I have gotten my Zenvo up to 3 stars now through playing the multiplayer seasons. I'm hoping to get it to 4 stars, and most likely then is where I will make another video about it, because I did make a video about it a long time ago in its max free try multiplayer season, but I never made a video about my own, even after I got it at 1 or 2 stars, and then after upgrading it to 3 stars, I figured, you know, it'd probably be a good idea to make another video about this thing at the rank that I have it at, and I actually had planned to do some races with it in this Ghost Slipstream season, which would have been perfect for it, because it's another high top speed, low nitro efficiency car, but I just kind of forgot about it, because I was so much into testing this Tuatara here. But you can definitely expect to see that sometime in the future. So what is this card like? It is basically the competitor to the Yesco. That is the best way that you could probably describe it at this point. They have very similar stats all across the board, with the Yesco having a bit better top speed, but the Tuatara actually being slightly ahead in everything else. Somehow, at the very end of this race, I managed to pass all these people at the last second, and even though it looked like that Tryon passed me at the last second, somehow I was able to come in first, coming in at the exact same frame as he did, and that Chiron was not too far behind. One thing that you may have noticed is that the 3 high top speed cars got very far away from the 3 lower top speed cars in that race, which were the Aventador J, the Huracan Evo, and the Porsche 918, I believe. This is partially due to the fact that if you have a ton of high top speed cars in the race, they can feed off each other's slipstream all toward the end of the race, and that's one reason why it was so close at the end there, because when, say for example, I got in front, the people behind me could ride my slipstream, then catch up and get ahead of me, and then I could get their slipstream, and it would just keep going back and forth. Overall, in my testing in this car, it was a very fun one to drive. I wish I could have gotten it at a higher stars, but I guess being at 3 stars, it is at the exact same level as my Yesco and Rimac, so it would be a good comparison to make between those, I guess. Being at only half stars, and definitely being at a rank that more people are going to have these cars at. Let me know if you would like to see such a comparison. Our main competition in this race were two Fenner Supersports, both of which passed me right there, but then I managed to pass them right at the very end to come in first. In this video are 8 of the most close and intense races that I had in this season. A lot of people have been asking me about the Valhalla. Well, I have unlocked the car. I barely actually got to the amount of conditions that I needed for it, but I did unlock it and I managed to 4-star it. I mentioned in my previous video that Gameloft had gifted me some tokens as a part of being in the creator program, or the influencer program in my case, and so I used some of those tokens to star up the Valhalla, and I'm going to save the rest of them for hopefully the Speedtail. I'm not expecting the Apex to be all that great, so I'm not planning to spend a ton of tokens on that one, unless of course it gets a lot better from stock to max. But given its extremely low top speed, I just really can't imagine that being the case, because so far we have not had any cars in Asphalt 9 that started out with a very low top speed and ended up with a very high one. I know in Asphalt 8 we got more and more cars that got like that over time. I'm wondering if the same sort of thing is going to happen in Asphalt 9, because when Asphalt 8 first came out, all of the cars were fairly normal, and then as time went on, we got ones that very much stood out in certain ways, like for example having big stock to max per rank increases, which made their top speed get a lot better, and they ended up being very good at multiplayer. Now all of that is ruined, but that's kind of besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that I wonder if Asphalt 9 over its time will get some cars with just those very exaggerated sort of aspects like we got to see in Asphalt 8 after a while. Another example would be like the extremely fast acceleration of cars like the MP425 and the MP48. I wouldn't be surprised that at some point in Asphalt 9 we'll get a car with above 90 or even above 100 acceleration. I'm not expecting it to go as fast as say the MP48 or things like that in Asphalt 8, because Asphalt 9 just doesn't seem like the kind of game to have things like that. But we will just have to wait and see. Now, although I got the Valhalla up to 4 stars, unfortunately I have finally ran out of credits. Even though I really like the new credit events, apparently I hadn't stockpiled quite enough to prepare for this update's increase in prices, because even the 3-star upgrades, mind you, for the Valhalla are already up to 300 and 400,000, and this is on an A-class car. This is not an S-class car. So I do definitely plan to get that car up to its full 4-star potential, but I'm not entirely sure when that will be, since I know we have some other cars coming soon, and I want to have credits for those, so I do want to make a 4-star Valhalla video at some point, just not entirely sure when it's going to be due to the credit situation. So in this race we are facing a Rimac C2 and a Bugatti Chiron. By far, the 4 most popular cars that I faced in Legend League in this season were the Tuatara, the Jesko, the Bugatti Chiron, and the Rimac C2, which are the kings of the game, so that makes sense, but I did not see nearly as many, say, A and B class cars in Legend League as I might have in some of the other seasons, simply because they're not as fast and therefore they're not going to do as well in the Slipstream seasons. Another car that I am quite excited to see is the McLaren F1 LM. While I've talked about it in the past that I don't really think it's going to become like the new king of Class B due to the bad acceleration, I do not think it will be a bad car by any means. I think it will be one that will be extremely good for, say, B-class Slipstream, because poor acceleration does not actually matter so much when you can just ride behind people at the beginning, because they will get a little bit ahead of you and then just ride on their Slipstream to get ahead of them, and then with that car's very good nitro, just keep it up until the finish line, because it is going to be the fastest car in Class B, going to be around 241, 242, around there miles per hour, so fairly similar to the Valhalla in terms of top speed. Now, one thing to note about the Valhalla is its top speed is not as good at lower stars, and one thing that I've found, and other people have mentioned this, is that it's just not as good at lower stars in general. Like the drifting at 2 stars where I have it at now, at least in terms of the upgrades, is not especially great. I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing like you would get at 6 stars like we've tested in the Valhalla season. So I would say, if you want the Valhalla to be competitive in multiplayer, you will want to get it to at least 4-star fully upgraded. 5 stars would be preferred, but lower than that, it's going to be okay. It's just not going to be the beast that you might have gotten it thinking it would be. I'm probably going to just stick at 4 stars, so I will have some tokens left over for cars like the F1 LM and the McLaren Speedtail, which again, I do not think is going to be a king, but I think it will be a pretty interesting car. So for my final review of this car, it's one of the kings of the game, if not the king. There's some debate about that, but overall, it's at least co-king, and I'm sure most people will be fine with that. And to end off the video, we've got a very intense finish against a 4-star Tuatara, I believe. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!